Hey gang, we are in Las Vegas, New Mexico. I'm just coming through for a seasonal trip. I'm heading to the Phoenix area where I will be during the winter. I came from Wisconsin, Minnesota, down through Iowa, Kansas, a little bit of Oklahoma, and then down into New Mexico, and here I am. Beautiful country here. First time I've ever been in New Mexico. I was trying to get to New Mexico on that TBM Avenger flight that went down in the White Mountains. This actually was the airport that I was coming to and never made it when the TBM, the warplane that I had, crashed. We had to bail out. Anyway, we're here today because last week I knew I was coming through here. I know we had live streams, I was telling you. And I was searching through, find a grave, and this cemetery was St. Joseph. We're at St. Joseph Cemetery. I think it's a Catholic cemetery. And I went through the 1,000+ graves, and I was just looking like I usually do. And I found the grave of a very young woman named Veneranda Flores. And the sad thing is, she died very young. So I thought, wow, what happened? So there was the case on there, and I got on the internet, and very sadly, I could see that she lost her life in a terrible way. Such a waste. She would be in her probably, well, maybe 30, something like that. I think she was 24, and that was 2014 when this happened. So she'd be in her lower 30s, probably doing great. Great family here in Las Vegas. Her mom, dad, brothers. And I'll tell you the story. We'll walk to her grave as we do. I'll tell you the story. It happened, well, let's start. She grew up here. She was a beautiful little girl, fit right in, very happy, very giving, everybody, very close family, lots of love, lots of tradition, which I love. And when she became a teenager, she kind of maybe started hanging out with the wrong crowd. People that took drugs, drinking. And she ended up moving to Albuquerque, the bigger city. She was like, Mom, I'm bored. I finished my studies. I finished my work. I want to leave. I'm going to Albuquerque. And Mom, parents very worried, even the brother, like, oh my gosh, it's such a big city. You're so young. What are you going to do? And she said, well, and her name, by the way, nickname Nanda, said, I've got a job as, I think it was a clerical job, accounting firm. And she was doing numbers and that kind of stuff. It's a beautiful remembrance here. Little girl who passed in 1978. Just a couple months old or so. And she went to Albuquerque, and they really were not hearing from her that much, and they were getting very worried. So Christmas comes. This is in 2014, and in early or mid-September, Mom, Dad, they call up and they're like, and brothers, come home. Christmas is very important, and always was the Flores family. As with many families, come home. We're going to spend some quality time together. So she said yes. And you could tell it might have been, maybe she was going to come back. They wanted her back here with the family. And it was all good. Well, they were getting ready. She was supposed to come back, and I can't remember if it was meeting a friend in a movie or meeting Mom or meeting somebody, but she didn't show up. And it was really odd because, as many, you're always texting, sending pictures, social media, and it just all stopped. Mom was like, what is going on? Now, she was dating a boy named Daniel. Now listen to this. She had her own apartment. She's making the money, right? And this Daniel guy is a drug user. And just a kind of, as described, as kind of a, well, I don't want to say the words, but just not a great guy, not a great influence. So mom goes to the apartment, her apartment, Nanda's, and this guy opens the door and he's not letting her in. And where's my daughter? And he's like, I don't know, go away. And it's like shuts her down. So mom calls the police, and kudos to the police, they get involved. And the whole investigation starts. And now mom goes back to old Daniel's apartment, and she is on fire. She is flaming mad, and she's not taking this BS from Daniel. So she practically butts her way in. She says, where's my daughter? I'm not taking this BS from you. And he's got a girlfriend. Listen to this. The guy is living there at Nanda's apartment. Nanda's missing. He don't care. He's got another girlfriend. He's using drugs. He's using her credit card. He's living at her apartment. So it blows up. Police call him in, and it's like, where is she? I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. And, time passes. Nobody knows. Now go 4 months later. I think it was in April. Christmas goes by. No Nanda. Can you imagine the family Christmas? Probably up all night, every night. What happens is, all of a sudden in Oklahoma, a body is found 4 months later, and they don't know who it is. It's like a Jane Doe. They're very clever. It's a body that's on the side of the highway in this brush, this clearing, this very hidden area. Whoever put this body here knew this is the spot. No one's going. Well, a road worker, someone, maintenance or something, found the remains decomposed beyond belief, almost no skin left, but luckily there were a couple of fingertips, and one they were able to resaturate. And I had never heard of this before, but resaturate the finger and bring back and get a fingerprint. So they get a fingerprint, but CODIS and all that, they're not having any luck. So they go to DNA, and through DNA, and I don't know if it was genealogy or what, but they got the DNA, and it took 2 months or 3, whatever it took, and it's Nanda. They figure out it's her. Can you imagine? They figure out it's her. And the family is devastated. So now the investigation really starts. And the police start zeroing in on Mr. Daniel. And we're not getting that much information out of him other than, hey, she went to the casino that night. And so they checked the casino and cameras and all that. And they determined that she was in fact there. There are witnesses. People say, yeah, in fact, we saw her. She was having drinks with the man, and she went with him. He was driving a truck, and someone saw her get in the cab of the truck. It's the last time she was ever seen. By the way, she was reported missing, I think, December 21st, 2014. So this is probably days later, Christmas. Oh no, this is like April. I'm sorry. After they found the body and identified. So now it's everything, the can of worms is opening up. So we go back to Daniel, super interrogation, and that, like I said that. And then there was another guy that they found in the picture. His name was Vladimir. Vladimir was hanging out with her a lot. He was buying things for her. He was like a sugar daddy. So they're grilling him. And Vladimir is like, no, I was her friend. I was buying clothes for her. I was doing this. I was doing that. And somewhere in there, he said, did you know that Nanda was an escort? She was in the escort service. What? So that's why she was there. And this is really the sad part, and this really, really devastated the family. And they found out that this whole time, sadly, Nanda was kind of lost. She was working, she was making money that way. She was never an accountant and going down the wrong road. So they worked him over pretty good, the police, and they determined that he was probably not involved. And then the Oklahoma, I don't know if it was the FBI or what, but it was Oklahoma. They took over the case because it had, the body was found there, and they're like, cleared Daniel, cleared Vladimir. Who is this other guy? Who's this truck driver? And they figure out who it is. It's a guy named Juan Gonzalez. It's this overweight guy who's a trucker. What do they call that? Long range trucker. Does these long trips, lives in the truck, lives in the cab, which is a great job. I love truckers. We have a lot of trucker viewers, but this trucker is one in a gazillion, and there are, like anywhere, there's monsters. So they go visit Mr. Gonzalez at his home, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Arizona. And you can put the pieces together that he was heading to Oklahoma on some kind of haul, and he decided that's where it was. So they question him, and it was very interesting because the detective goes to his house and he answers the door, and he is huge, and he could barely walk, he says, and he barely can get to the door, and he's like, I'm in a lot of pain. And they sit down, and he's in the lazy boy or whatever, and the detective is talking to him, and they're pretty cool, and just, hey, being nice. It's how you get information. And the detective looks, and there on the table next to him, on one table is the Bible, and on the other table is the Book of Mormon. And it's a little showy, don't you think? So the detective, little flags are going up. And then he starts talking to us. Finally, he admits, he's like, yeah, I called her up through the escort service. I found her online. I was lonely. What's wrong with that? I'm sorry. I'm, a big guy, and maybe I'm not getting a lot of action. So, and he says, I can't remember because I'm taking these drugs, these painkillers, and it is known to affect memory. And the cop's going, how did you remember? He didn't say this, but he's like, how did you remember the drinks that you had, the drink she had and the drink you had, but you can't remember if she got in your truck or not. So the detective leaves. And by the way, the other thing he said, listen to this. He said, I texted her and called her after I dropped her off somewhere, what did he say, in Albuquerque? Maybe it was her place. I don't remember. That's where he's saying I don't remember. And then he says, I tried to call her. I tried to text her several times because I wanted to go out with her again. Okay, great. So the detective leaves like, man, a lot of this stuff's not adding up. So what does he do? They start checking. They got his cell phone. The old cell phone, the old records, the truck. Detective goes and meets with his boss to check his story out. Boss goes, what? No, this guy quit. It was December 22nd or 23rd. I forget the date. It was like right there, right when she was missing. He quit. He came in the office and he threw his keys down. And he said, without any explanation, I quit. The boss said, you can't quit. He said, I'm quitting. And he walked out. They checked the cell phone records and everything. The texts were there, but guess what? No texts or any correspondence or calls to Nanda after she disappeared. He was lying. Interesting. Well, everything put him there, and they got a hold of the truck. And this is where it really gets interesting. They got a hold of the truck. They get in the truck. Of course, the trucking company's like, yeah, go for it. See what you can find. He had a special mattress in the truck for his back problem. And it was very, very expensive that he bought. And that mattress was gone. Where's the mattress, Juan? I don't know. I'm taking the pills. I don't remember. Well, the mattress is gone. It's destroyed somewhere. It's probably burnt up in a bonfire. No mattress. So you're putting all this together, and you have a solid case. And kudos to them. They arrested him. He got arraigned, brought in, the whole deal. He's going down. Well, he must have gotten a great attorney, because somehow he got into the plea bargain situation, the conversation, the negotiation. He's like, okay, yeah, I will plead guilty. I'm going to, what's the plea bargain? And I guess he didn't get the plea bargain that he wanted, so he went back and said, you know what? I changed my mind. I am not going to plead guilty. We're going to go to trial. We're going to do this whole thing. Now, I talked to Paula, Nanda's mom, beautiful, nice woman, obviously very hurt. Still to this day, it's, as I'll say it, I'm sorry to say it is a life sentence. Your life's changed forever. But she told me that, because I was asking her about it, and she told me that they could not find a cause of death. Could not find a cause of death, a technicality. Of course, the Nanda was completely, decomposed. So was she strangled? Was she stabbed? Was she shot? No cause of death. But she's dead. But because of that, the prosecution, state's attorney, whoever, the people there, the people prosecuting this case capitulated. Okay? They capitulated, and they caved in to Juan Gonzalez Jr. And they gave him what they call is a 42-year sentence. Well, you think 42-year sentence, that's it's not life, but okay, that's not the end of the world. And then we come to find out, when I read it, it's like, that's how they kind of spill it out there. Well, it's a 42-year sentence. It's a 12-year sentence with a 30-year parole. So if he murders someone else, he goes back to prison. Or if he does something bad, like this guy had probably no record. He's like, do you think he'll keep his nose clean? So he's basically got 12 years. He got 12 years for this. Do you hear me? He got 12 years. What is going on with the people? Now, I don't know all the details. In comments, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm being a jerk. But it seems like somebody weaned out. Because I can tell you, I'm not an expert, but we all kind of know these days, with that kind of evidence in a jury, you're probably going to get a guilty verdict. I don't know what the odds are, but how can you let that go? Because, the way I look at it is 12 years is like an innocent verdict. Okay, so 12 years, or he gets out immediately, or he gets out in 12 years. It's kind of, to me, the same thing. He's not an old man. He's a young guy. He's going to live most of his life out. So why not take the chance and prosecute him? You probably have 70 to 80% odds of a guilty verdict. That's my opinion. You disagree with me? Great. Let me know. I'm open to hear what you think. but I am betting that a lot of you, I am betting that a lot of you are going to agree with me. It's outrageous, in my opinion. Now, enough said. So he's in prison now. That was 2014 when it happened, so I'm guessing he was sentenced in 15, 16. Maybe it's 7 years ago. He's like almost out. He's probably up for parole. I have to tell you that I did ask Paula about it, Nanda's mom, and she was very gracious, and she's just really numb, guys. No opinion on it. I don't blame her. I'm just giving you my opinion, okay? It's not her opinion. But I think it's outrageous. So we are at the grave, this beautiful cemetery here, beautiful in its own way. And by itself right here, with the statue of the Blessed Mother guarding Nanda's resting place, we have her grave. This is where she is now. Family brought her home. Family's devastated. They're still devastated. But God bless them. God bless this family, this poor family who had to endure and is still enduring this selfish, horrible, brutal, animalistic person, this crime. But let's remember Veneranda Flores. So April 7th, 2015 is the date I believe she was found, I'm guessing. And that's what we have. There's a beautiful cross here, metal, some beautiful things. That looks like a hummingbird, or no, is that a canary, maybe? What is that, guys? It's beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? And here's a remembrance cross with some beautiful flowers. So I'm just going to add a little bit to this. The yellow rose. I've been asked why the yellow rose. Why the yellow rose? Well, the yellow rose is a sign of friendship. I never knew Nanda, but I feel like I know her. Beautiful young woman. Beautiful young woman. Well, rest in peace, Nanda. Rest in peace.